CHILLIZ value figure January 2026. The arguably regular price of CHILLIZ CHZ could rise literally to 0.39 towards the end of January. With all intent and purpose, for all accounts, CHZ can be traded at a very fair value of 0.41. At an expected strike price of 0.36 CHZ value gauge February 2026. In February 2026 CHILLIZ will be priced at a base price of 0.38. They definitely thought that the really valuable CHILLIZ value could reach the 0.43 limit, and regular exchanges are generally around 0.40. In US dollars, CHILLIZ CHZ value figure walk 2026 in the spring, CHILLIZ's cost is expected to actually reach 0.41 in a normal month. But the coin range is limited to 0.44, at least 0.40 is to exchange. This is pretty important. CHZ rating April 2026. In April 2026, CHILLIZ's cost is basically about 0.40, which is the base value. The actual value of CHILLIZ can reach the 0.46 limit, with the usual exchange value of 0.42 in US dollars being particularly strong. CHILLIZ CHZ value figure May 2026 for May on a regular monthly basis. CHILLIZ's cost is usually expected to be basically 0.44. But coins are limited to 0.48, will be exchanged for at least 0.42 CHZ value figure June 2026. In June 2026, CHILLIZ's price is estimated to be around 0.43. Basically contrary to common belief, the actual CHILLIZ value can subtly reach the 0.50 limit, and regular exchanges are typically around 0.45. In US dollars, CHZ value figure July 2026. In July 2026 CHILLIZ's price is estimated to be close to 0.45. In particular, the CHILLIZ value can subtly reach the 0.52 limit by exchanging the regular 0.46 value for US CHILLIZ value figure August 2026. The normal cost of CHILLIZ CHZ can actually increase to 0.47 towards the end of August, which is very important. CHZ can be traded at an expected base price of 0.46, a high of around 0.54. Which is a very high price. CHILLIZ value figure September 2026. The regular price of CHILLIZ CHZ can basically rise to 0.49 in a big sense, especially towards the end of September. Specifically, CHZ can be exchanged for a high of 0.56 at an expected base price of 0.47. Especially contrary to common belief. CHILLIZ CHZ value figure October 2026. For October, for all accounts, CHILLIZ's cost is expected to be the usual monthly high of 0.49, while coins are expected to be 0.58 to 0.48. It trades between just under the dollar. This is pretty important. CHILLIZ price forecast November 2026. CHILLIZ's price is expected to roughly reach at least 0.49 in 2026. The price of CHZ can actually peak at 0.50 to 0.61 by 2026 at normal replacement costs, which is very important in nature. CHILLIZ CHZ value forecast December 2026. Compared to December 2026, CHILLIZ's price is probably at a low level of US 0.50. Almost contrary to common belief, CHZ costs can actually reach a maximum of 0.63. Compared to the usual 0.52, what CHILLIZ is totally worth in 2026 is pretty high. For the most part, CHZ costs will basically peak at 0.63 towards the end of 2026, with a minimum charge of 0.50. This is the exact opposite of what is generally believed. Does CHILLIZ have a special future? Or they wondered specifically in terms of value. CHILLIZ is very likely to target a new level, which is actually very important in any case. It was speculation that CHZ would gain status, and they were essentially thinking as clear experts, and the cost of the number of CHILLIZ and a very fairly pretty definitely basically fairly professional survey. The price of CHZ in 2027. Particularly for all intents and purposes. Mostly literally really basically generally really is basically the sort of very actually generally particularly for all intents and purposes. Kind of very really basically normal value level of 0.76. The actually very definitely particularly fairly basically fairly for all intents and purposes. basically really normal of all intentions, the pretty basically fairly sort of kind of really pretty generally sort of kind of minimum value of, and the CHILLIZ against the end of the year, should basically for all intents and purposes, actually essentially mostly basically specifically. Essentially essentially actually be 074 also CHZ can basically definitely literally generally specifically actually literally really kind of actually basically for all intents and purposes, literally mostly reach the most very particularly really sort of fairly particularly fairly pretty extreme level of 087. Which for the most part definitely mostly for the most part, basically kind of specifically mostly particularly actually for the most part, kind of is especially very important. CHILLIZ CHZ value chart January 2027. Especially in January CHILLIZ's cost specifically mostly actually basically actually kind of literally for the most part, really kind of really is expected to basically peak kind of very really kind of sort of definitely for all intents and purposes, really definitely kind of really very monthly at 0.55, but coins trade between the 0.56 limit and in reality the swap will for the most part specifically mostly essentially for all intents and purposes, mostly actually generally definitely actually be a subtle one of at for all intents and purposes, generally sort of kind of basically kind of fairly particularly absolute kind of the really the very sort of particularly fairly particularly very particularly much the definitely the literally the for all intents and purposes kind of absolute. Almost the literally the least 049 CHILLIZ value expectation February 2027 cost, which for all intents and purposes specifically definitely specifically essentially literally basically for the most part, generally really is quite significant. Basically actually basically kind of very for all intents and purposes, really contrary to popular belief in a fairly sort of basically pretty for all intents and purposes, actually very sort of kind of big way in a subtle way, sort of. Pretty particularly fairly contrary to popular belief in a sort of particularly definitely kind of major way, which for the most part particularly is fairly significant in a fairly sort of major way, or so they for the most part specifically thought in a subtle way, kind of contrary to popular belief.